1. Hello everyone. Welcome to Ed Talk TV, Conversations Worth Having. I hope you're having a fantastic day. You know what? Tell me, how is your day going? Are you having a good Tuesday? I know it's been a busy one over here. Just checking down on the phone, make sure everything's good. We are live, which is awesome. So if this is your first time joining, welcome. This is a talk show. We talk about business, tech, and the user experience. Oftentimes we'll have guests on here, so if you want to become a guest, yes, you, even watching the replay, I see you. You'll want to go to edtalktv.com later, not now, because we got to do the show first. You can do it later. But you can go there to fill out the guest request form. You don't have to have anything necessarily special. You don't have to have X amount of followers or anything. Welcome, the crew's coming. I love it. We have a lot of UK viewers. We have a lot of US viewers. We're just an international show. So there it is. But that will have a bunch of information for you over at edtalktv.com. Also, you'll see that I just dropped into the post or into the comments 2 quick links for you for anybody who wants them. One is if you want to treat me, you can anytime. I won't say no. And then Check with Ed subscription, which is my monthly subscription program, basically. I'm going to be working on that, FYI, for those in the group and those thinking about being on the group. I'm going to be working on that sales page. I've been doing some cleaning. If you guys were here yesterday, we talked about, spring cleaning your web presence. So that's what I'm in the middle of. Made some good progress today on the site. And so we're just moving through it. I mean, that's what we have to do, right? As a business owner, as a soon-to-be business owner, we have to go through and we have to, continuously fine-tune our website, our social media presence. Anything that we put online, we have to go through and fine-tune that, which we talked about yesterday. So I'm just checking in the comments. Hey, everyone. Now I kind of miss seeing your old kitchen setting. For those who don't know, I was on vacation, kind of, and there was a few episodes, 3 weeks of episodes where we were in the kitchen. I know, we'll have, everyone wants to do a Cooking with Ed show. I don't know why, but everyone wants to have me in the kitchen cooking something. I'm not a chef, you guys, although that would be nice. But that is on the list of ideas at some point. Yes, Chrissy, we are early. We're actually on time for those who are tuning in. We are on time, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. But as of Sunday morning, we here, at least in the U.S., had our daylight savings time. So we lost an hour. We sprung forward and lost an hour. So yeah, it helps with the UK viewers, right? You get an extra hour. You get me an hour earlier, I guess. Good to see the monkey again. I know everyone loves the monkey. It's, what can you say? You're thinking, right? Like, who doesn't love somebody or something that's thinking? I mean, that's what we're here for, right? Because your can opener debacle. Yes, Erica, I know. You guys, and if you don't know, we got to do that again. But that was one of the funniest videos. Not just because I'm saying it, but you guys loved that. Well, now that I'm back in the office, maybe we'll recap that another time on the episode. But yeah, it's fun. It's been, ours changed in 2 weeks. Oh yeah, Vicky is in the UK, so theirs will be changing. Cool. So today, before we jump into today's content, which how many of you, even if you're watching the replay, because we love replay viewers too, we want to make sure that you comment because that's where the magic happens. If you're new around here, at least say hello, if nothing else. Like, don't miss out on your opportunity to shine. Literally, I'm allowing you to show up. Well, actually, you're kind of allowing yourself to show up. But I'm allowing you to deliver, right? Which you kind of already are doing that too. And then engage. That's the one that we're really wanting you to do. Not just for me, but for you and whoever's going to see you down there in the comments. I point over here because my comments on my computer are on the side over here. So that's what it is. Monkey is embracing the silence in the bathroom. Yes, Vicky, that's awesome. So before we jump into today's content, which is going to be the bodyguards for your business. How many of you what do you think of that name, that title? It was a random title that came up today and I was like, you know what? We're going to see if this works. We're just going to throw it up there and see what people think. See if it catches people's attention more. See if people are like, this is just really weird. Seeing if there's that curiosity marketing happening there. Like it catches your attention. You're kind of like, oh, wonder what Ed's going to say. So you can let me know your thoughts. No hard feelings. We already posted it, so it's fine. I don't care. Even if you're watching the replay. But before we do that, we are going to jump into some random news. And this one is actually going to, hey, Mickey, you're here. Yes, we're just getting started. I love it. So, yeah, we are going to jump into random news, and it's going to be a good one. It's really good. So have you guys ever, before I jump into that, have you ever sent a text message to the wrong person? Raise your hand. You can do an emoji if you want. I know I have, and it has sometimes, I don't do it often, but if you ever notice, like on iPhone, because you guys know I'm iPhone, right? Sometimes you start typing in the name, and then it will show recents, and it keeps like this little history, this little memory of your recent ones there. And I've done it sometimes where I knew who it was, I tapped on their name, and then I started to send the text, and then found out that they had changed their number, and that name disappeared, and it just showed the number. And I was like, wait, what? And then somebody responded like, hey, I think you got the wrong number because that's not me. Like, cool that you have a dog, but that's not me. You know what I'm saying? Like, so obviously it's nothing crazy. I mean, my pictures are all about the dogs. I mean, those are my kids. So, nothing very interesting, but still, I texted the wrong person. So how many of you guys, even watching the replay, how many of you have had that happen to you? And do you have a story that's attached to it? Let me know. I'm going to look in the comments here. Yes, Mickey says, yep, texted the wrong person before. And how did it go, Mickey? Did they respond to you? Were they nice? Were they not so nice? I'm just curious how people have done, how that's worked for them. Oh yes, and I've called them a name too. Vicky, I don't know if that's tied to the comments, tied to the texting, or if you guys are having a conversation, but that's hilarious. Been setting up. Okay, cool. So this happened in random news. Sydney had decided that she wanted to get insight on this new dress that she was buying. Let me go ahead and flip this over. I'm going to go here. So here's Sydney. Here's her text message, which is hilarious. No idea. So Sydney was out dress shopping, and she decided to take a few photos and send it to her friend. Well, it turns out that the text message actually went to somebody else. And if you can't read this, it says, quote, I believe this message was intended for someone else. My wife isn't home, so I couldn't get her opinion, but the kids and I think you look stunning in your dress. You should definitely go with that. And now, watch this. There's the kids with the thumbs up. Like, how awesome is that? How cool is it that the dad here went through and made it fun? He wasn't going to be, rude. He wasn't going to just ignore it. He made it fun. He made that girl's day. He made all of our days now, probably, because I know my day's made. I mean, who does that? How cool is that, right, Erica? It's hilarious. I know. It's one of those things that they were nice, laughed at me, and I was trying to text a date, what time to meet. That's going back to Mickey's thing. It's one of those things that, yes, sometimes people will text you wrong number, or you'll get the wrong phone call or whatever. And it's nice to see that there's still people out there that are going to bring joy to your life, right? Like, this is a complete stranger, not only him, the father, but he got his kids involved and was like, yes, that's a win from us. We have no idea who you are, but it looks great. And if you want our feedback, there it is. That is cool. And that's what you want to do. You want to take that and run with that for your business, right? Feedback, accepting it. Doesn't matter who it comes from. I mean, it does, but you know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't matter who's going to give you the feedback, whether it's good or bad. We're not even at that level. We're literally at level 1, where we have to accept feedback. Let me have some water here. So, at level 1, you have to be okay with accepting feedback. Now, you're probably thinking, okay, well, I want feedback, but do you really want the feedback? Like, do you really understand what the feedback's going to be for you? This all ties in, by the way, to today's topic, so just FYI. When it comes to feedback, you have to not only be accepting of it, but you have to also understand what it is. It's not a customer complaint. It's not a customer review. I mean, those tie in and everything, but what feedback is, I know, courtesy of me. Yeah. Oh, that's so country of me. Yes, that too. It is. For some reason, I really love mason jars. It's awesome. But here's the thing, you guys. When it comes to feedback, you have to have a whole mindset shift around it. Maybe not all of you, but some of you are going to have this mindset shift. You're going to have to understand that when somebody responds to you, and when I say to you, I mean your product, your service, your whatever you're providing to the world, you have to understand that that is feedback. It's not customer complaining. They may be, but it's not a complaint, and it's not necessarily like a review, right? Those can be labels for them, but what you have to understand is that they're providing you with feedback. That's the most important thing that you have to understand, and you have to look at feedback as strengths and opportunities, right? Like strengths, what are you good at? So there's that review. Opportunities, well, somebody saw something or learned something or whatever, and they're making you more aware of it. Whether or not you're going to take that and run with it, that's a whole nother story. But you have to be willing to accept feedback as strengths and opportunities and really realize that that will completely change the game for you when you start thinking of it that way. Because then when you do get a bad review, because let's face it, there's always going to be one. When you get somebody who's complaining, right, you're going to look at it with a different perspective. You're going to understand that it's not, you might still get hurt. I mean, let's face it, we all are going to have our feelings hurt for 5 seconds or longer, depending on how it's written. But what you want to understand is that that person took time out of their day, whether they're working or not, it doesn't matter. They took time out of their day. You grabbed their attention so much that they took time out of their day to write something to send to you. Do you see how crazy that is? Like, think about how hard we work at trying to get just a Facebook post to be shared. I mean, liking is, we try to work for the likes, but, it is what it is. But just think about how hard we all work for getting somebody to comment or share our Facebook Live broadcast, our Facebook posts, whatever it is, right? I mean, how many struggle with that? You can let me know even in the replays. But that is huge. When you have somebody that takes time out of their day, they stop what they're doing because they need to tell you something. That's huge. I will never forget that back when I had one of my first internships was at a local newspaper, and I was being a writer there, a reporter, and my editor for one of my articles had really worked with me on the article. It's a big life-changing one that I had at the time, and she pulled me into her office after it got published. Which to me I was like, oh, this is awesome! I got my first article published. I mean, real big article. And she pulled me into her office and, of course, complimented me on the article and things like that. But most importantly, she sat me down and told me, that there was an older gentleman who had wrote into the paper, who had read my article, and then wrote into the paper. And I forget what it said, but there's a long thing about, how impressed he was with it, that he reads the paper all the time and he's never written in and yada, yada, yada. The point is that he not only read the article, but he stopped what he was doing to write in to tell the newspaper / my editor. And she stopped to tell me and was like, Ed, nobody does this. Like, this is big. You have to understand that. It doesn't matter what was said. The fact that somebody stopped to write in is huge. And that's what you have to understand. When we talk about your business, we talk about blog posts, for instance. You may not have any comments on your blog. It's okay. You're going to work on that. You're going to keep fine-tuning and providing value. You have to keep redirecting the conversation, right? Think about it. Let me ask you, even if you're watching the replay, let me ask you, where are you, if you have a blog post, where are you sharing that blog post? What's the first place that you tend to share it? Probably on Facebook, right? Or Twitter, or somewhere, right? But when you do that, what happens? It has its own comments there, right? Like if you shared this video right now, that's going to have its own set of comments, not these comments, not the ones where you guys are right now. So in that post, when you share this, there's a whole new comment stream that's starting, right? And people are going to comment there because it's easier, rather than clicking the video and then jumping into these comments, unless somebody told them, right? So you have to think about that when it comes to your blog. If you share that blog post anywhere else besides your website, where are they commenting? Take a look at it. Chances are they're commenting on your Facebook post, your Twitter post, your Instagram post. Therefore, they're not commenting on your blog. It's not because your blog post isn't good. It's because they don't need to go back there because no one's redirecting them there, right? Does that make sense? I'm going to look at the comments here. Just doing a blog. Yeah, and never thought to share it. Yeah, Vicky. So yeah, once you do the blog post, you can share it on social media. But remember, you guys, remember, you want to try to circle back and redirect them to your website. That's what you have to do, is try to get them back to your website. Because all of this space, this social media space, this is all rented space. This is all, think of it as a marketplace. Think of it going to the grocery store. There's so many options. There's so many choices that it's overwhelming at times. You get crazy and it's just like, whatever, you just don't know. And then when you go back to your website though, it's less. And I'm making these weird faces, maybe. I feel like I'm making weird faces because I can hear one of my dogs on the other side of the door going through and trying. He does this weird thing, you guys, where lately, I don't know why, but when the door is closed, he will go out and start messing with some clothes in the laundry basket and just I don't know. He's it's driving me crazy. But anyway, there's a side note for you. How do we get them to read it on the website? That, Chrissy, is the $1 million question, right? Is how do we get them to do that? Well, ideally what you think about is the way the process sort of works is that you build it on your website, a blog post, okay? You start with the blog post on your website. You push it through to social media to get the attention. Then the person would click on the link that takes them to your website where they would read and ideally comment, which of course in that blog post you want to try to encourage them to comment there on the blog. That's the way it's supposed to work. And it can work that way, but it just depends on if that person actually clicks your link and actually goes through and decides they want to comment on that post. It's a lot of coaching, I guess you could say. When you share it on social media, you'll want to, inform them. If somebody comments on your social media post, so let's say you shared your blog post on Facebook and somebody commented, "Oh, great post." Then you can reply to them, "Awesome. Would you mind dropping a comment over on the blog?" Or did you have a chance to drop a comment on the blog? You can ask them. It's not going to hurt anything, right? Just to ask and see. You guys, that's what I do with my reviews. There'll be people that are giving me legit reviews in emails or Facebook commenting, off of somebody's post or whatever. And then I'll ask them, "Hey, that was really good. Do you mind if you go to my page and drop that comment? You can add to it or whatever, but that's just really good. And I like my audience to see that because it speaks to what I do," right? More than 9 out of 10 times, they're going to be happy to do it. You just got to ask, right? It's what we talked about yesterday and we talk about all the time. Ask and then listen. See what happens. Yeah, it's a good idea, right? I'm full of good ideas, aren't I? So there's that part. Now, why am I telling you all this? Because it's important, obviously, but also to think about your bodyguards for your business. Like, what does that mean? What do you think that means? Even if you're watching the replay, what do you think the bodyguards for your business is? Does anybody have a guess? Thanks, Chrissy. So the bodyguards for your business, and this, you guys, this is how my brain works, okay? I'm literally driving today to the gym, and it popped up in my head. I was like, bodyguards. That makes sense. Because I'm thinking a lot about customer service, and more so than normal because I've been doing a lot for one of my clients, helping out with customer service and answering tech emails and things like that. So, I'm like really in it right now, like really in it. Erica says, I immediately thought of internet security. Oh, but I'm sure I'm off. That is good. That is good. Yes, that is a good way to think of it too, Erica, because we're talking about online businesses and we're talking about bodyguards. So that's a good connection for sure. Vicky says extra admins. Yeah, that is another good one. And that actually kind of ties in, Vicky. So when you think about having bodyguards for your business, and like I said, this came to me while I was driving, and I was like, okay, well, we'll just run with it and see what happens. You have to think about the people that you have on your team. Now, I know some of you are going to be like, oh, I don't have a team, so I'm out. No, don't leave. We're good. We're gonna talk about this because it's gonna help you. But you have to understand that when it comes to your business, there's you, which is what people are investing in. And you can have all these other products and services and whatever, but people are investing in you and what you bring to the table. Then you have people that represent you, right? It doesn't matter if you're paying them or not. They could be your hardcore followers. They can be your assistant, your VA, whatever. It doesn't matter. But you have you, where everyone's investing in. Then you have people that represent you. Those can be looked at as your bodyguards, right? Your customer service representatives, your support team, whatever you want to give that label to. But you want to think of them as your bodyguards. Back in the day when you used to go to the clubs, this is the first thing that I noticed when, I'll just tell you the whole story because it ties in. So back in the day, this is like early 20s, when I used to go to the club, we had a really nice fancy place around here. I mean, you couldn't get in unless you had almost like a suit on. It was very strict dress code policy, and everyone looked nice, and they played good music, and it was just a classy lounge type spot, right? But like most things, it started to go downhill and it started to change. Things got a little bit looser in terms of who got in, how they were dressed. Things started breaking up. And of course, I'm like, well, how do we fix this? Because I don't want this to happen. Like, this is a business. I want to save it, right? I mean, Ed, business saver. I don't know. We got to come up with a good name for that. But it's one of those things where I'd be standing in line, I kid you not, I'd be standing in line, looking around, thinking, okay, who are these bodyguards? Have they changed over time? These are the ones that are in front of the business, that are letting people into the business, right? It's not the owner. It's not the owner that everyone is coming to see, and he's not the one letting you in and out. It's the bouncers, right? The bodyguards outside. So if you have those people who are out there dealing with all types of people, right? From sober to drunk to just crazies, in the cold most of the time, from anywhere from 9 p.m. to 2 or 3 a.m., dealing with all of this madness outside, you have to pay them good, right? Because if you don't pay them good, they may slip and be like, well, you know what? He seemed okay. She seemed all right. We'll let him in. Oh, you're not, of age yet, but you're close. We'll let you in. Just don't have anything, right? Like, that happens I'm sure a lot more than we want it to happen. But the point is that those people, the bodyguards, are the ones that help keep things under control for that club. We're just going to use that as an example. Hopefully that's making sense to you guys. So you have to think of your business as the nightclub. Woo! And you have to think of the people that represent your business, which are the bodyguards, the people hanging out outside, right? And tell me if I'm far stretched with this, but this is just how it works, and I'm just giving you guys what's on my mind. But you have the club, which is your business. Then you have the bodyguards, which are the people that represent you, and you have to invest in them. You have to pay them good. You have to educate them. You have to do whatever the arrangement is, but you have to make sure that those bodyguards of yours, those people that represent you in your business, that they're on point, that they know that they're like a replica of you, basically, right? And of course, everyone's going to have a different job and all of that. But yeah, exactly, Chrissy. They can be cheerleaders for your business. Yes. The first line of defense. Exactly. Okay, cool. So it's making sense. It's not just me being like way out there. Okay, cool. Because as a creative, that can totally happen. We could just be on our own train. But no, yes, that works. Cheerleaders, first line of defense. You guys call it what you want. You know what I'm talking about, though, which is awesome. And that is what you want to make sure that you pay attention to, especially if you don't have the funds yet to hire somebody, right? But when you do hire somebody, that's what you have to think about when you are hiring is, let's face it, especially when you're starting out, you're never going to have enough money, right? You're never going to have enough money to pay XYZ or to get XYZ. That's just the way it is, especially when you're starting out. But you have to understand that that's why you have to look at what are you investing in and how important is it for your business, right? It's just like your programs, your systems that you're investing in. You got to figure out like what's going to work for you. What can you grow into? Same with your website. You may not be able to hire a fancy designer to do everything that you really want in a website, which is good because when you first start out, things change so much. You don't even know like what you really want or need. But you can at least get started with something, right? And you can still do your research and still go through the motions there. So you just really want to make sure that when you are getting your cheerleaders, your first line of defense, your bodyguards, whatever you want to call them, when you start getting them, you need to make sure that you're educating them, that you're training them. And when I say that, I don't mean necessarily, they have to come to your house or your office and they have to come down for a 1-hour training. No, I mean like doing a Facebook Live just like this, letting them know who you are, letting them know what you represent, what you help people with, like all of that stuff. That's what I mean by trainings. Our gatekeepers, yeah, Erica, there you go, gatekeepers. That's a good one. I like that. Probably could have worked for the title here too, all right? The gatekeepers of our business. The gatekeepers for your business. Maybe we'll change that afterwards. We'll see. So that's the kind of stuff that you want to think about. Whatever you're putting out there, podcast episodes, blog posts, social media posts, website edits, whatever it is, like that's all stuff that's going to help train people. You're going to have to obviously redirect conversations a lot. You're going to have to constantly refresh people with that information. But that's what you're going to want to work with. And then when it does come time for you to hire somebody, don't just go for the cheapest option. I know. You're like, Ed, dude, I can't afford much. I get it. But I don't want you to automatically think that you have to, when it comes to a VA, I don't know how to say this because a lot of times what I see with people, and I get it because we're on a budget. We're always on a budget, right? But what happens is right away you start a business and you're like, I need to hire a VA. I'm going to hire a VA overseas and they're going to do everything for me. I want them to do, blog posts. I want them to do social media posts. I want them to do admin stuff. I want them to check my email. I want them to do. Pump the brakes. You need to make a list of what you can do, what you like to do, what you don't like to do, and what you can't do. That's what you need to do. Then you can start thinking about hiring somebody to help with each of those, most likely individually. Some people might be able to do more than one, but you need to understand that you can't just throw everything out there and expect one person to be able to do all of that for you, especially on a low budget. So you have to understand that part. You also have to understand that there's people right next to you that you can ask. Ask somebody that you know. Put up a notice in your area, whether it's online or in the bookstore or at the library or coffee shop, whatever. Like the school, if you got a college near you, if you got a high school even, hey, some of the high schoolers are taking college classes. They know they're trying to get in to, learn about this stuff. If you know what you have to outsource and they're willing to learn, you guys, I have a couple teens at a local high school here that I mentor, and they are loving just being able to learn about social media and how they can utilize that in their projects that they have for school. Like, that's stuff that you can start thinking about versus automatically saying, oh, I got to hire a VA that's going to be super cheap, but I have all of these things that I want them to do, and they have to do it right now. It's not going to work that way. It's not, what motivation do they have? Ask yourself, what motivation do you have if you're getting paid a couple dollars an hour? Right? And is it going to be worth the time that you have to put in all the time to have back and forth communication on whatever your project you're building out? Because maybe they don't know how to do that. And that's even here at home. I'm not just talking about overseas. I'm talking about anybody. Like, you have to understand exactly what it is that you want to outsource, because then you can find the right person to outsource that information to. Because if you try to get somebody who, in general, whether it's your neighbor or somebody in another state or another part of the world, it doesn't matter. When you start to get somebody over for all of these projects of yours, it's going to be overwhelming for them because they maybe only specialize in, admin stuff, and you're trying to make them a designer. Well, yes, they want to say yes to it because they want to make money. I mean, all of us do, right? We always think that we want to say yes, but then we have to realize, is it really worth that yes? Is it really worth doing that, right? Or would it be better to pay a few dollars more to have an expert do that work, right? Have that expert designer, when I say expert designer, I'm not just saying top of the line designer. I'm just saying somebody who actually is studying or has done design versus somebody who only works in admin. I'm not saying that those people in admin don't want to learn design, and this could be a great opportunity for them. Sure. Ask and listen, right? But what I am saying is that you just have to understand what it is that you need and what you want, so that way you can budget for it and that you can really find the right people for it, no matter where their location is. Because what I don't want you to do is to do what a lot of people are doing, where they start their business and they're like, I'm so overwhelmed, I can't do all this stuff. I have to find a VA who can do all of these things, but I don't want to pay them a lot of money because I don't have money to pay for them. Well, it's hard. And I get understanding you have to learn about this stuff, right? Which is why we're here. And so I just want you to understand that that's kind of the process you need to go through, and to learn that now, no matter what stage of business you're at, to learn that now, because it's going to make it easier later. And again, you can go back and do a spreadsheet. We talked about that yesterday, right? If I know most of you guys are tuning in while you're doing other things, but even if you're watching the replay, What did we talk about for spreadsheet yesterday? Like, why would you want to use a spreadsheet for what? We talked about it yesterday. See, I'm just like boom, boom, boom. So when it came to yesterday's episode, we talked about a spreadsheet for your online presence, right? Like Googling yourself. If you didn't watch yesterday's episode, you can go check it out. But you can Google yourself and then save all those links to a spreadsheet. Yeah, it's pretty cool, right? Same type of thing when you're doing this for work, for trying to figure out what it is that you want to do, like to do, don't like to do, can't do. Like, you have to understand what your strengths and opportunities are before you can go ahead and offload those to somebody else. You know, I'll tell you, when I first started, I jumped right in and I got a VA. It was somebody who I worked with for several years beforehand, and I told them, I was like, you're going to work for me someday. Just FYI. You're first on my list. You're going to be working for me someday. And shortly after I started my business, she actually ended up working for me, a local friend who I loved working with, and she was awesome. She did everything I needed to, and I knew that I was going to pay her good from the start, even though I knew that I technically couldn't afford it. But it was one of those things that I said, well, if I need this done, I need to make sure it's worth it for her to want to give me her time to help me with my business. And I'm just going to have to budget for that. I'm going to have to work a little harder with other jobs, right, to make it happen. So that's kind of the reasoning behind that. And it was great. We had a great time and she helped me a lot. But because I was so early on in the business, I didn't have my list made of what I like to do, what I can do, what I don't like to do, and what I don't want to do, right? Like, I didn't have that list out. So every time I had something that I was trying so hard to outsource, I was just trying to hand it off so bad because I was like, okay, Ed, you just got to break away. Just break away. But then I would give it to her, and right as she's starting to do it, or right after she finished doing it, I'd already say, oh, no worries, I got it done. I went through and I did it. It's all right. No worries. I know I'm crazy. Don't worry. It's good. But that doesn't work, right? Like, I just paid somebody to do work that I ended up doing myself again because I was too early on in all that. Right? Does that make sense? So you have to think about that, and you first have to understand what it is you want to do and what you can do. And then from there, you can push out to the world to find where you want. I'm just looking at the comments here. I use that for stocks in order. Oh yeah, Chrissy. Yeah, definitely see that. So, so then I had to, as I was restructuring my business and understanding that I needed to change things around, that's when it was like, okay, we need a break because I need to work on me. I need to work on my business, and I need to work on what system I want to have in place. And that's where I really got into my systems and my processes. So that way I can just pretty much manage at this point what I need to. And which is why you haven't seen a whole lot of social media posts. I mean, maybe you have. A lot of people say that I'm still very present all over the place. But I don't use social media schedulers at the moment. I need to go back through old blog posts and clean them up. And that's all part of my web cleaning, right? That's all in the extra time that's out there. But you have to understand, you don't always have to be like always pushing out another blog post, always doing another Facebook Live. Yes, you should have something, but just make sure that you're doing it as a manageable task for you and where you're at with your business. If you absolutely can't afford to hire somebody, I should say, that's okay. You can come up with a system that works for you. You guys, there's plenty of ways to do that, and that's what, if you need help with that, that's when you reach out, and that's when we would work one-on-one with you on that. So just understand that there are ways to get around that and to help you grow, because I don't want you to feel like you're in this place that you're just stuck and you can't get anywhere because you can't afford somebody, but at the same time you still have to put out all this stuff. Like, you just got to fine tune what you need to do right now, and then go with it. and just run with that. And as you grow, then you can start expanding outwards, right? If that makes sense. So keep that in mind and really understand that just because you're hearing all these businesses hiring VAs and doing XYZ doesn't necessarily mean that you need to have that right off the bat, right? It's the same when somebody, when you see a new product, a new software technology, right? Like a new design program or a new accounting program or whatever. You're like, oh, that looks really cool. Do I need that? It's like $50 a month. Oh, that's like, it's $200 a month. I think I need that. Do you need that? Or do you just like the idea of having that? Because chances are the programs that you already have do a similar thing. Most of them. Hey, Tammy. Yeah, shiny, right? It's one of those things where you have to think about, what programs that's why it's important to audit your business pretty much every so often, especially at least once a year. You got to go through and audit your business, all the programs that you're using and all of that information that you're really putting out there, and see, does that work for you? Does that still apply? It's really cool. I saw yesterday, I posted on my personal Facebook profile about, web cleanup, and I was talking about Facebook groups. Man, you guys are blowing that post out of the water. You guys are doing so much work right now. I'm like, dang, when you guys are done, you can come over to my profile and start cleaning. People are talking about how they're going through and cleaning up the Facebook groups that they're in. They're getting rid of Facebook groups that they've been added to without permission, right? How many of you guys, even if you're watching the replay, how many of you have been added to a Facebook group without actually having your permission? Facebook still hasn't fixed that, but I'm guessing they don't think it's a problem at this point. But that's one of the biggest gripes that we all have, right? Is it's too easy to have somebody just add us to a Facebook group without our permission. They can just literally type in our name and then hit add versus hitting the share and having that link sent to us, right? Yeah, Chrissy says yes, loads. Yeah. So a lot of you are going through and cleaning up those Facebook groups that you're in, but you didn't say you wanted to be in. Then, this one was interesting. People are going through and cleaning up the pages that they've liked and followed over time that maybe doesn't apply anymore, which I thought that was really cool. And then, this one really got me. I was like, okay, I'm impressed. Some of you are also looking back at the groups that you're in, that you've actually said you wanted to be in, and some of you are actually going through and removing yourself from those groups if you haven't participated in there for a long time. Yeah, I thought that was cool because, the way I look at groups, and I do need to go through and clean up some of the groups that I'm in too, because I'm sure that there's several that I just don't pay any attention to at all, and probably because there hasn't been any posts in there. But what will happen is, what some of you are doing and described to me is that if it's a group that you've been in, but you realize that you don't need it anymore, or that you're just not participating like you would like, you're removing yourself so that it helps that group. It helps that admin of that group, and it doesn't have this false number. And it doesn't mean that it's just kind of a dead group, which I think is really cool. I think that's really awesome, and I appreciate that a lot. How many groups is manageable for most people? Tammy, coming in with the heat right there. That is a good question. I want to know, anybody watching, do you have a number for Tammy? Because I would like to know too. There's no right or wrong answer, you guys. But how many groups is manageable for most people? I would like to know that, because I will say, off the top of my head, if I had to say how many groups I'm active in on a daily basis, I would want to say probably a handful. So I'd probably say 5. I think it would be a stretch if I said 10, but maybe when I start to think about the groups, it could be between 5 and 10 for me, I would think. on an average daily basis. Yes, I try to do that periodically. Okay, cool. Vicky, 400. Woo! That is a lot. That is a lot. You guys, I wouldn't even, I'll be honest with you. That's too much time. I would not waste my time doing that. That is like crazy right there. That is crazy. That's probably why I haven't done any of my cleanup yet on my Facebook groups, because I'm like, that sounds like busy work to me. I don't like that. I don't like that. So Chrissy says she's in 2 plus 3 that I run. However, lots I don't engage with. Yeah, lots that we don't engage with. Active in about 4, Mickey says. Okay, cool. So just from this small pool, and if you're tuning in on the replay, let us know. But this small poll that we just did, we're seeing probably about an average about 5. We'll just call it 5 that most of us are in. Which, to be honest, that sounds about right. Manageable on a daily basis, we should say. Because here's the thing, you guys. The beauty of groups, and again, it depends on how you use them, right? For me, and what I think most people do, is that there are groups. Paula says 4. Okay, cool. So yeah, we're about that 5 still. For me, the way I look at groups is that some are very, very specific to a program, to a system. So unless I'm actually doing something, for instance, I'll say I'm part of the Divi group, right? Because Divi, for those who don't know, is what I use to build websites with. And that's a theme, a template, if you will. And so they have a support group. I'm not going to be participating in that group every day or every week. I'm going to probably be in there maybe once a month if I have questions or if I need something specific, right? So I keep that group because there's no point in me leaving it because I know I'm going to need it at some point. Versus maybe, I don't know. This is so random. You guys are going to laugh. But maybe, there's a group for MySpace junkies. Those who, love MySpace so much that they miss it. For those who don't know what MySpace is, it was before Facebook. You've outgrown MySpace, right? Well, MySpace is no longer around. So why would you keep that group? Like, it's kind of like, okay, that was like high school, so now we're done. Like, let's bounce, right? Yeah, Vicky says, woohoo, Divi. I know, I love Divi. Tammy says, I just counted, I have 110 groups attached to my Facebook account. Woo! Yes, spring cleaning. Wait, what is it? Hashtag spring cleaning needed. Yes, totally. I need to see how many are attached to mine because I just don't look. I just go into there. And yes, Chrissy has the membership one. Yeah, I will say, yeah, so I actually, speaking of groups, I had a free entrepreneurship one that was tied to my business page here. I ended up closing that one because it just wasn't, there was no activity really going on besides me posting in there. And because now I have Check with Ed monthly, which is part of that is a Facebook group. I want to make sure that I'm using my time wisely and that people who are in the group actually want the resources and that are actually engaging. So after some time of thinking about the free group and how I was going to run that, I realized that since there was no activity for a long period of time from most people in the group, I wasn't doing anybody any favors by keeping it open. One, I'm still responsible for that group if something were to go on in there, so I had to close it. But two, everyone's doing their spring cleaning. Like, you're going to leave that group anyway because you're going to see there's no activity except from me. And you can get that here on the page, right? Or go over to the paid option for Check with Ed because you have my website options and then you also have the group. So that's the reason why I had to close my free one because it just didn't work in that sense. So you have to think about that and you have to understand like what works for you and where. Don't feel like you have to have a group if you have just a business page or vice versa. Like, you should have a business page. Do not not have a business page. That's a big thing to have because that's how your business is going to get known and seen, right? But if you decide that you have the time, you have the energy, and you have the resources to open a group, then go ahead and do that. But I don't want you to just open a group because it's free and that it just sounds like a good idea. You have to go through that. How do you close a group? So, Chrissy, there is an option under group settings that when you're inside that group, there's options under group settings where you can actually archive the group. They don't call it close; it's called archive. If you don't find it, tag me in Check with Ed group, and then I'll do a quick little tutorial for you. Oh, I have your membership group too. Yes, yeah, I saw that comment. Okay, cool. So that's what you want to think about when you're doing the spring cleaning, when you're going through all these things. Like, you have to regularly go through and check these things. You have to see what's going on, because here's the other thing too, you guys. And I'm telling you, but I have to tell myself too that I have to go look at how many groups I'm attached to, because when you join a new group, did you know that the admin of that group can see how many groups you're a part of? So if you're curious, like I am, you're going to look at, I'm going to use Chrissy as an example. Like, I'll see, oh, Chrissy's wanting to join a group. Well, she's attached to 4 other groups. Let me see. That's not too bad. But if you're attached to 100 different groups, it's kind of like, what kind of groups are these? Is it spammy or what? That's just, I get curious like that. And I'm actually going to look, right? Same thing when I get a new friend request. I'm going to look at your about page on your profile. I'm going to look at, do you have a profile picture? Do you have a cover shot? Do you have anything in your about section? Do I even know who you are? Do I even know that we have any friends in common that are legit? Not just like, we have 10 friends in common, but I really don't talk to any of those friends, right? Like, if that even makes sense. But that kind of stuff. I didn't mean to get into 100 groups, yeah. So, that's the kind of thing that you have to think about because it can be seen. So think about that stuff. That's part of, your web presence, to clean up all of that stuff. And guys, it doesn't have to happen overnight. It's not going to happen overnight. If it does, you're probably not going to get any sleep and you're going to be super stressed out and not be able to do any other work tomorrow. So don't force yourself, to go through and try to get all this stuff done right this minute. I'm telling you, but I'm also telling myself. Same thing with like my website. You saw yesterday there was a couple pages that I have enhanced, I've improved. I continued that journey today. I was able to work on another page. I obviously want it completely done like now/yesterday, but it takes time. You have to factor it into your normal routine and just go and make notes and push along as much as you can. That's all you can do. You can't go and just say, I failed because I didn't cover XYZ. No, you didn't fail. It's just an opportunity for tomorrow. Like, you can only do what you have time to do today. The first part is being aware, right? You just got to be aware. And then you have all your cheerleaders, your gatekeepers, your bodyguards who are out there cheering you on and helping you show up all the time, right? That's why you tune in here, helping you show up, helping you deliver, and helping you engage. So just think about that and going from there. That's what I got for you guys. We're going to end a little early. I got a lot of stuff to do. I've been here listening. Oh, yes, Teresa, no worries. I love that. I know a lot of you guys, especially regulars, you guys are definitely doing other things, so I appreciate you tuning in and listening, because just listening works. I mean, you can always see this anytime you want, and if you're listening, I'm talking about my face. But yeah, it works. Chrissy says, how do you find how many groups you're attached to? As far as I know, and I haven't looked at my group settings for a while, but when you go into your profile and you look at groups, you'll be able to see the long list, and then I'm guessing you just count them, unless Tammy or somebody else has insight on that, but I'm pretty sure that you can just see that you have all those groups and you just go through there for that. So anyway, have a great rest of your evening. UK viewers, you're getting off even earlier. How awesome is that? So I will see you guys here tomorrow. I hope you guys all have a great day, and we'll talk soon. Take care.